Hey guys, Bear here. Today I'm going to go over a Ruby Sanctum BiS list. Because it's only one boss, I wouldn't really consider it a full phase. So I'm calling it the 4.5 set because it is only one boss. It's just a short patch with one boss. There's no real reason to call it an extra phase, in my opinion. So, as you can see on this list from my other video that I did about a month ago, there's only one item that gets changed out that is not from Ruby Sanctum, and there's 3 other items that come from Ruby Sanctum, and I'll explain all 4 items in this video. I'll go over a couple of other things that I found, and I've done some sims to kind of back up the information and updated my sheet that way. So I'm going to start with trinkets. First one is the Sharpened Twilight Scale. It has armor pen on it. It has a slightly larger attack power buff than Whispering Fang Skull, but because it has armor pen on it, it allows you to drop armor pen gems from your sockets to pick up either strength or agi, or whichever you prefer to really go for. There's no like perfect way of saying that this is going to be the exact ones that you want to run, because gems can be within like 10-15 DPS for the most part. It's all personal preference, and it's all depending on your caps. Crit cap is not really something you should be aiming for, in my opinion. It is still a really good stat, so agi will be a good stat to pick, but again, I sim it every week. I suggest that you sim it every week as well to see what you can do for the most basic upgrades. But with Sharpened Twilight Scale, allows you to drop armor pen. There's 2 armor pen items that come out with this next phase and Ruby Sanctum that allow you to do that. So the tier 9 chest cloak was in the last video, and I'm changing it to Shadow Vault Slayer's Cloak because it does allow you to drop more armor pen and still gives you stats that you want as a Feral Druid. This one comes from Loot Ship, so you can get it pretty easily. Most pugs will even do it on Heroic because it is literally called the Loot Ship because it is that easy. It's not a complicated fight, it's not a hard fight. It's just a matter of actually doing the mechanics right and killing the ads at certain times. Next 2 items come from Ruby Sanctum exclusively, specifically Ruby Sanctum Heroic. Umbrage armbands, again, allows you to drop armor pen in that slot so that you can slot in other items and slot in other gems as well. It's not a big upgrade in comparison to the last BiS list I put out, but it's still an upgrade, so I'm putting it on this list. And the final item comes from Signet of the Twilight, which is the heroic 25-man ring that does give you less hit than Band of Bone Colossus. I will still pick up Band of Bone Colossus because I will probably end up using it for like a tank set, or you can use it for a lot of different items or sets. So it's still a good item to try and pick up. But yeah, that goes over the list I have for my 80 upgrades. Let's look at my sheet. I did update the version on it, so I'll skip everything else I covered in my previous video for the sheet and go straight to the Ruby Sanctum ICC BiS. I did add in the cloak, I added in all of the other BiS items and did the sims for those. So as you can see, the armor pen cloak is only about a 15, maybe 20 DPS decrease compared to Shadow Vaults. So if you have the cloak, it's still a really good item to use, and until you get full BiS or even both of the trinkets, you'll still want to technically use that cloak. Next, we'll move over to the trinkets. As I said, Heroic Sharpened is the biggest item, because if you compare it to Whispering Fang Skull, it's a 500 DPS increase. That's huge. It's just statted perfectly for Feral Druids. It gives you Armor Pen, gives you a higher proc for your attack power, so it's going to be BiS. Then you can see for rings, like I said, Bone Colossus is still a really good one. It's only 40 DPS difference. It's not that much of a difference. I'm still going to try and pick it up because then it allows me to, slot in different items if I want to. And we're going to go over the risks. Risks is 35 DPS. It's not a huge one, but it's still there. It's still there as a DPS increase, so these are just based off of the sim values. I did change my prior list as well. I basically, like it says there, with the announcement of the Ruby Sanctum coming shortly after ICC launch, this is just slotting in those same items. It's changing the items directly over. I'm not really changing a whole bunch in it, just because it's just going to change straight over to those other items. So yeah, if you like the video, go ahead and leave it a like. Feel free to comment on any changes that you would like to see, or anything that I can just show you guys on what I do to help increase my DPS on a week-to-week basis, or even help others. Thanks, guys.